one major difference between our electoral system in Canada and a country, say, like the United States, is that we have really stringent election financing laws with regard to how much individuals can donate. You can donate up to, it's roughly $1,500 right now, to a riding association, so that would be an individual's campaign, or to a federal party. Now, there's also restrictions. Corporations can't donate. And during an election campaign, there are very strict spending caps in terms of how much political parties can spend on advertising and other related activities, and how much individuals can spend within a campaign at a riding level. Now, what's interesting is that there is a major loophole in Canadian election financing laws that is really starting to be, in my opinion, exploited by special interest groups, and what's worrisome is also potentially foreign interests. And that loophole is that anybody, an individual, a corporation, a special interest group, whatever, can register as what's called a third-party entity. And so if you register as a third-party entity, you can funnel money basically almost without restriction from anywhere into this entity, and then spend money on political advertising. Also, if this money gets into the entity prior to a certain point before an election, I think it's 6 months, that money isn't reported on at all. So nobody really knows where these funds can come from. And we saw this phenomenon actually, I think, influence the election in 2015. We know that there was about $6 million, I believe, of funds that were flowed through these types of groups. This is everything from labor unions to environmental NGOs that would be backing this. But it's not it's not unique to any political brand or ideology. To me, this is really a nonpartisan issue. I do not think that foreign funds, special interest groups should be influencing Canada's elections outside of the very strict election financing rules that we have in place. Because to me, that's, I think, one of the things that makes Canada really quite strong in terms of its democracy. For me as a member of Parliament, it means that I get to spend a lot more time and just doing my job and evaluating legislation and policy issues based on their merits, rather than thinking about, well, how is this going to affect my fundraising? What worries me is that an individual could register as a third-party entity. If they're quite wealthy, they could put money into this third-party entity and then skirt the personal donation caps for all intents and purposes. To me, that doesn't level the playing field for people who want to become involved in the democratic process. The whole point of putting personal donation caps in place in Canada was so that one wealthy individual couldn't materially influence the election one way or the other. It was really about leveling the playing field for everybody in Canada to be able to participate in the same way. So we have been trying to get the Liberals to close this loophole. For all of their talk about democratic reform and change, they really haven't done a whole lot. I know that they've really let down their voter base, but my colleague, Senator Linda Frum, she's a Conservative senator, has actually put forward a bill to close this loophole. She's been pressuring the Liberal government for some time now. We've been doing the same in the House of Commons. Today, the Liberals floated a very vague trial balloon that they were going to do something, but I think that what they're going to do is really pay lip service to this, because the Liberals, frankly, I think that they're worried about some of these special interest groups saying, well, you can't take away our influence in this election. So I am eagerly going to await and see what this bill has to say, or whatever measures that they're going to put in place to close this loophole. But Senator Frum and my colleagues that work on the democratic reform file have been pushing this really hard for quite some time. It's something that's not super sexy in terms of it making headlines in the national media on a day-to-day basis, but to me, no matter how you vote, it's something that you should be concerned about. I don't think that we should be allowing, the sort of super PAC system that you see in the U.S. come to fruition in Canada, because all that's going to do is incent politicians. Like, if this loophole isn't closed, and that's kind of what political parties need to do to survive, that's not going to incent them to not use it. It's going to be the opposite. And you're going to see every political party do that as a means of survival. I don't want to see that happen. I'd rather that we focus more on policy and debating ideas rather than, and track records and, competency, rather than saying, okay, well, now I need to go and form a super PAC to continue the work that I'm doing in Ottawa. So follow the work that Linda's doing, follow the work that our party is doing. I'll keep you posted here, but this is something certainly I would ask you to write to if you have a Liberal member of Parliament, and say, look, you have a majority government. You said you were going to make real change when it came to democratic reform, so do that. Close this loophole, level the playing field, and make sure that foreign influences are not having a material impact on our democracy. Working hard for you in my Ottawa office. Have a great day.